So today we're going to talk about assembling your flute and putting it together for the first time. This may be something that even if it's not your first time, that you may need to just take care to do, because you want to make sure that you don't damage the flute in any way. So even though it's metal and it seems very durable and tough, it's actually very easy to bend some of the keys or the mechanism on the flute, which can be an expensive thing to repair. So we want to avoid that at all costs. We've got three parts of the flute. We've got the head joint, the main body of the flute, and we've got the foot joint. The head joint is an easy part to hold because it's got a lot of space for your hand here. The main body of the flute, and again at the top of the body, you've got a space to hold your hand. Okay, so I wouldn't be putting it down here on the keys. Your object here is to avoid grabbing the keys and hold it where there's no keys, so you know you're not going to do any damage. And then you can simply gently twist it in. Once that's on, you're now going to attach the last bit, which is your foot joint. So taking the foot joint out of the case, I always just go to the edge and take out from the little bit of space where there's no keys. So I take it out here and I hold it here. Now, this is the tricky one to put together. So what you want to avoid with this one is just grabbing the keys in any haphazard way. So you can always close the keys because the keys are designed to be closed. So you can hold your thumb on the bottom key here. So you can gently do a little twisting motion to get the flute on. Sometimes grit does build up on the foot joint. On this little part of the flute here, some grit can build up from the moisture and just not cleaning it properly. So what you really need to do there to get the flute to fit on nice and easily is just with your cleaning cloth, polish it nicely. The thing not to do is to apply something like a Vaseline, okay? Because what happens with the Vaseline is it's an immediate fix, so the flute slides on very easily, but the grit builds up even more. So this is something you're going to have to do. So keep the joint here and on the top in the head joint nice and shiny, and you won't have any issues with it. So the next thing to do is to line up the flute. So this is done in a few different ways. Some of the student model flutes have little arrows going from the body up to the head joint, and it kind of shows you how to line it up. Mine doesn't have that. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to line up the hole into the center of the main keys. Now mine are very handy because they've got these little points on them, so I just literally am lining up the center of the hole up here with this point, and you'll get used to doing this in no time. Another way is to look up the barrel of the flute like this and do the same thing that way. The other thing then is to line up the foot joint. So the foot joint is actually operated by your baby finger. So the reason we don't join the two bits and the two make a lovely straight line here with these is because we need that baby finger here, and if we turn this here to match and be in a straight line with the bars, then we're not actually able to use our finger here. So what we do is we twist this at the end so that it comes into the center of this key. You're literally lining up the bar that runs along the foot joint. You're lining that up with the center of your last key on the main part of the flute. So that is for your baby finger. So that's putting together, taking the flute out, putting it together and lining it up. So another thing I would say to you is when you're practicing and you know you're taking a break and you're putting the flute down, always make sure to put it down on a flat surface. And it's got a very handy little key just here. And this key allows it to sit very securely once it's up. You don't want to turn the flute over on its underside like this where you're placing the pressure down on top of the keys. You want the keys to sit upwards and the flute is very balanced. So it's not really a good idea to leave your flute unattended. You know, it may fall off a surface. I've had students who've had many accidents over the years from leaving it on top of surfaces. when they're not practicing it. So I think the thing is really clean it every time you've played and you're finished playing, and put it away in the box. So in your case, you'll have got a cleaning rod. So this is like a huge sewing needle. So on the top, you'll see that there's a little gap here to place the cloth into. And basically you're going to put the corner of your cloth. So I have a lovely Beaumont cloth here, which is really pretty. You basically want something cottony, something that's absorbent, that's going to just take the moisture from the inside of your instrument. So you're taking the corner of your cloth, feeding it through the little gap at the top of the cleaning rod, and you're bringing it over the top. I'm going to start with the foot joint here. Again, I just close the key to slip it off. As I'm holding it, I'm being very careful to hold it at the end again, away from the keys. Another option is again, close the key as you clean it. Now, this is the easy one because the foot joint is so small, so it just easily just goes through. Clean it, make sure there's no moisture on the inside of it, and place it back facing upwards, keys facing upwards, into its little grooves in your case. The next one is the main body of the flute. So again, I'm holding this where there's no keys, and I do this in 2 halves. So I do one side, then I catch it, turn it over and do the other side. Have a quick look down and then place it back into the case, keys facing upwards with the bar against the back of the case. It has its little groove in your box. So you should notice that when you're, when you open your case, you'll see the way that the flute is when you open your case is where you want the flute to go back into. Do take care when you're opening your case as well that you have it the right way up and that it's not upside down, so that when you open it up, all the parts fall out. And the last part then is the head joint. It doesn't always get right up to the top. So you can see my cleaning cloth is inside there. And really, that's all I want. I'm not going to apply pressure. I'm not going to bang it against the top, because up here we have the cork, which is a very important part of the flute. So I don't want to damage that. I'm going to be very gentle. As soon as I see it go up to the top like that, I just sometimes twist it around, and then I will clean it out. So I can see it's not completely dry, but that's totally fine because most of the moisture is gone from the inside, so that's okay. And so I'm going to pop that back into the case. So that's putting the flute together, cleaning it and putting it away into the case. You get this kind of cloth in your case, which is your cotton swabbing cloth for cleaning the inside of the instrument. And sometimes you get a cloth like this. This is for the outside of the instrument. So this is my polishing cloth. So I wouldn't use this very regularly at all, really. I would tend to mostly use my swabbing cloth, and I would just gently, very gently on the outside of the keys while I'm holding it, maybe touch the keys as I'm cleaning them. So if I show you here with the main body of the flute again, I'm literally very, very gently touching this and wiping my fingerprints off the main parts of the flute. So you have to be very careful that you don't hit the little pins or the little springs on the flute. So when you look closely to the mechanism, you'll see the tiny little springs, and they keep the keys popping up. So if one of the springs come out, you'll see the key fall down like that. So that can sometimes happen when you're cleaning and you're too vigorous with it and you do it too hard. So you have to be gentle. The main thing is really to have your flute serviced, every maybe, well, it depends on usage, but maybe about every 2 years I would have it serviced. Send it to a professional who will totally take off the mechanism and clean it for you. It'll be like a new flute when you get it back. Cleaning the mouthpiece and the head joint is a very easy process. Again, it's all about being gentle. You don't want to overdo anything, but again, because your mouth is having contact here with this, you just want to kind of, from a hygienic point of view, I suppose, clean it out. And again, with the foot joint, I would be super careful not to be touching, twisting the keys in any way. It's a gentle touch, if anything. So clean it after every time you've played it. Close the case and keep it out of harm's way for if you have little brothers or sisters or whatever who might be interested and who are dying to see what the flute looks like. So I hope you enjoyed the little tutorial, and thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Bye.